Hi, my name's Dennis Keys. I'm the Program Coordinator for the Certificate in Carpentry program here at the Otago Polytechnic. Just like to talk a little bit first about what we do here. We run a Certificate in Carpentry program. It's a full year program. Students come in, most of them are school leavers. They come in, they do around about 75% of the theory learning towards a carpentry apprenticeship, and then they also do a bit of practical work. We're trying to get them ready for industry, basically trying to get them ready for employment. We decided in 2008 that we really needed to build houses with our students. We felt that if you're going to teach somebody how to build something, then build something.
So at the outset, once we got approval to run the program, including a house build, we had to look at how that was actually going to happen, where we were going to do it, and what resources we would need. And it was quite clear that you need a significant amount of institutional support to enable this to happen. We needed a lot of space, obviously, to build the house. More recently, we've had to get approval to build scaffolding for regulatory compliance, and a lot of that sort of stuff's changed significantly, even in a short time of 4 years. The other aspect is around what work ready means to us and employers, and what the students perceive work ready to be. And so while it's not necessarily something that's contained within a unit standard, it's certainly something that we're keen on developing in the students. We do that through a number of ways, getting guest speakers from industry to talk about their experiences of employing graduates, what they would expect from someone who turned up on site looking for a job. And the tutors are building that into the delivery all the way throughout, working to time frames, working as a team, problem solving, taking the initiative as opposed to waiting to be told what to do.
I think for us as a institution and ourselves, we're being driven by what the industry is saying to us, and the industry is saying to us they're wanting people who have hands-on experience, who've got the ability to learn and to apply that and to listen to the learning which they have in industry.
Once we'd completed our industry consultation, we made the decision then, yes, we were going to go ahead, and in 2010 we did our first house build. Okay, so this started in 2008, took us to 2010 to actually get the first one up and running.
I've really enjoyed it. Like Bob, I think it's quite real. We're trying to make it, part of our course thing is preparing them for work, and I think working on a real house is preparing them to work for a builder. I think that originally we used to do scribers in the workshop, and we used to hang doors in the workshop, and as good as that was, they always had to pull it apart. I think by doing scribers and hanging doors for real, it's a lot more satisfaction. It's not being pulled apart. It's actually got to be right because it's staying there. It's the real house. I believe that they're learning a lot more. We are having to, as we are building it, we're having to research to make sure that we're nailing the ply off properly, that we're putting enough blue screws in the purlins, that we need to just, like we would have had to learn this stuff, but there would have been no application for it, whereas now we've got to look at it, we've got to research it, make sure we're doing it properly, but we're actually doing it. We get a building inspector come along, he passes it. If we don't, we haven't got it right. So it's real. And the students, I think, are buying into that a lot better. I think I've got students that regularly post Facebook photos of their day's work, and their friends are looking at it because we can see it on Facebook as well, and I think they're very proud of their work.
At the end of 2011, we went to a tutor conference down in Wellington, and Otago Polytechnic were talking about what they were doing down there, and they were using ePortfolios as a assessment tool. And they said that the ITO had approved it and that they were happy with it, and that it was something that they were starting to really get into. And they talked about the way the students engaged in it and felt like they weren't really doing assessments at all.
So obviously technology is the enabler for the ePortfolios, and we're constantly considering what role technology plays in the industry.
From there, we started delivery of ePortfolios as an assessment process. What we did was we actually captured it in one course okay, and it was all about the start of the house build, about site set out, about pile foundation, floor framing, and then ultimately about the framing itself. And that worked really well. So here's an example of site set out, which is unit standard 13004. Now this is an ePortfolio that a student's done. Obviously they have a title page to show what the actual unit standard is that they're working on. And then what they're given is a template for that unit standard. And the template's through PowerPoint. Now on the PowerPoint they're going to have a photo. Now these photos are taken by the students out on site, and what they're doing is they're recording evidence on these on the PowerPoint relevant to the photo. Now the photos were initially or the type of photo taken was designed around the element in the PC requirements in the unit standard. So basically what they're doing is they are demonstrating the knowledge of a unit standard or the PC and elements within a unit standard, and in a form other than a written assessment. Once a student's completed the ePortfolio, the student then uploads the ePortfolio through our Moodle system for marking. The tutor will look at the ePortfolio relative to a judgment statement and marking schedule that we've written for each unit standard. If the information the student has given us meets the requirements of the judgment statements, then the ePortfolio is marked accordingly and the student passes the unit standard.
ePortfolio work, on the whole, I would say they've really mastered it, and they're probably even streets ahead of it as me as a tutor for technology-wise.
I can fit it in just when it suits, like if we're in the house build and it's raining, let's go to the Aotearoa and we'll go and do it. But I'm finding that the variety in the ePortfolios, because each student is obviously free to pick the pictures and then add the backgrounds, and it's actually really interesting to mark. Some of them, as Bob said, are very, very switched on and really find it very easy to make interesting PowerPoints. Some of them are struggling a little bit more, but then, as Bob said, these other students that are well ahead are able to help, and they do help. So I think the ePortfolios have been very interesting.
So on the slide itself, you basically had to write that information. Did you find that very easy?
It was alright. I made sure to get onto my ePortfolio pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because we sort of did this, and later in that day we had time to do it.
Yeah.
So while it was still fresh in my mind, I wrote it all down. The picture was good. I labelled that, and then I just sort of, from memory, just wrote down what we did.
Cool. Do you think that if you hadn't done that practical exercise, you would have been able to write down that information?
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when you, because Dirk sort of explains it, you get talked through it, and you can kind of understand. But when you go and do it, whack the pegs in, put some string lines up, you get it like that.
Okay, as you can see here from this graph, although our results didn't change too much in 2010 and 2011, which is when we initiated the house build in 2010, once we introduced the ePortfolio along with a couple of other strategies in 2012, we significantly got better results with both our completion and our retention. In any given year within our program, because of where we're located, we normally have quite a high percentage of Māori students. Anywhere between 25 to 50% of our students can be Māori. So obviously we want our results for those students to work well. And we can see also that in 2010 and 11 we weren't doing that well with our Māori students. And once we hit 2012 with the introduction of the ePortfolio, we were very, very happy with the results we got there. We could see that they definitely did a lot better under that new regime. We also run online surveys with our students to make sure that we are getting real data about how they're feeling about the whole process.
One thing that we're finding with our students as they evolve over the years, I think, is their increasing in diverse ways of learning. Whereas in the classroom, they would have learnt 4 or 5 years ago, predominantly in the classroom with a few practical activities. Now it's becoming more practical activities, less in classroom, but also their learning styles are changing with the use of smartphones and online resources, the ePortfolios, The ways in which they learn and capture their learning is now increasing and diversifying all the time. I think the ePortfolio system that is being used in the school at the moment really show the way that the students are engaging in their learning a lot more, because that's the way that they start thinking and that's the way that they do their best form of learning.